everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Tinzley Bradford, and she's the author of The Settle-Free Dating Method for Women. And I'm so excited to have her here today because guess what we're talking about? Should you date your ex? And I think that question has come into every single woman's head at some point in her life. So I know, ladies, you're dying to know what Tinzley has to say about this. But before we jump into that, Tinzley, tell our audience what provoked you to write this book.
Yes. Hello, Suzanne. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and hello to your lovely audience. The Settle-Free Dating Method for Women, which is a no-nonsense advice guide to remind you that you are more, was written because I want women to stop settling for less than they deserve. There's so many different things we do in our lives that we just simply settle for, from the type of friends we have, to the type of job we have, to the type of boyfriend or husband we end up with. We allow so much, many times bad behavior, mistreatment, just so we can say we have somebody. And I don't know about you, but that's 365 days of pure misery for me. So let's stop settling. I wrote a book about it with some tips in there on how I do it, and I want you to learn how to do it too.
Awesome. She's all about empowering women, ladies. So take a look at her book. So let's talk about this, because part of what you just said about suffering 365 days out of the year is, should you date your ex? And like I said, every woman has asked herself this question, and I know you have a whole host of tips, but we're just going to touch on 3 today, I know. And I like your first tip is you have to ask yourself this question: is the hurt from the last time you dated truly in the past? So can you elaborate on this more?
Yes, yes, yes. Whenever you harbor any type of grudge towards anybody and it hasn't been fully resolved from your end, in your heart, in your mind, I'm talking about completely squashed to the point where it is like it didn't even happen. Right. You don't need to go back towards anybody who you still have any resentment for, because naturally it's going to come up again. You're going to look at them funny. You're going to be looking at them sideways all the time, depending on what it was that caused you to break up. You're going to always probably in the back of your mind wanting to say something about it. And they're going to look at you like, wait a minute, if we're doing this again, you're still bringing up past stuff. Well, people will tell you. Recent studies say if you're still harping on the past, it's because it's not fully resolved. There's something there still lingering on inside your mind that you don't feel that there's any closure to. So if you date your ex, don't let it be because you're going to show him a thing or two and then break up with him. You need to really be going in with a clear mind. And I really prefer not to go backwards, but so many people have success stories redating people they used to date. So I don't say no, but it's something to think about.
I think that's a great point. And what you're basically saying is you have to start with a clean slate. Because if you're bringing up all this crap from the past, whatever it was, and I'm just going to give one example because I've seen this a lot, is let's just say he cheated on you. And that's why you broke up. And you couldn't get over it and you were so angry, and then you guys broke up. And then, like Tinzley said, you start thinking, well, should I date my ex? But here's the thing. If you go back into the relationship and are still thinking that he's cheating and you're going to be suspicious and you're going to always be checking up on him and you're still angry that he cheated on you, guess what? That relationship is doomed. It's not even worth trying again, because he's going to resent you and you're going to resent him, and it's a relationship that's doomed. So really, you have to go in with a clean slate, right, Tinzley?
Right. And absolutely 100%. When you go in, realize this is a decision that you are making. It's a choice that you're making. You don't have to do it. I mean, there's a world so full of guys that you can date. Dating is healthy. You don't have to go backwards just because you feel like something might have been missed. If it was a reason why you broke up, I definitely will say don't ever go back to someone that abused you. That's another one I wanted to highlight.
Oh, that's a really, really good point.
You don't even have to think about that one. I mean, if you broke up because you were getting abused, next, with a capital NEXT, next.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that because, like Tinzley said, there's 365 days in a year, and no relationship is worth that. So, like Tinzley's talking about in her book, know your self-worth. There's plenty of men out there that aren't like that.
Mm.
Okay, so let's jump to your second tip is to, well, we kind of touched on this, but I want you to elaborate on it a little bit more, is what caused the breakup in the first place?
Yes. So that's another tip, and it is separate. You do have to assess what caused it because relationships, when you're dating, there's going to be a ton of arguments. I'm sure that everyone wants to have a perfect relationship where they don't argue. Everyone's just all hunky dory, warm and
That
fuzzy.
doesn't exist.
No one ever argues. Come on, we all know they argue. We ever get all sassy, but you need to really look at it and say, what caused the breakup? There's a few reasons people break up, but I'm going to name a few, and you need to ask yourself if you're considering going back to your ex, is this something you're willing to deal with? Number one, was there a substance or alcohol abuse issue that caused that relationship to go sour? We all know it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know a relationship with a person on drugs can be really, really dangerous. I mean, not necessarily from a physical standpoint all the time, but it can be mentally draining, emotionally draining. You could come up with a few TVs missing, sorry, but that type stuff. I mean, why did you break up? Was it that? That's one thing to think about. Are you willing to deal with that again? Are you willing to go to rehab? Has he really, really, really cleaned up his act? Do you know for sure? The other thing you need to consider is, like we mentioned in the other tip, was there abuse going on? Did you break up because he was beating you up and mistreating you and belittling you and treating you like crap, and to the point where you ended the relationship? Smart woman, by the way, if that's why you left. But is that the reason why? Why would you want to go back to that?
Right.
The third thing that I'd like to say as another example is, did he, like Suzanne said, cheat on you? Are you 100% sure that you're over that? I'm not trying to provoke anybody who's thinking about going back to their ex who cheated on them, but I'm a no nonsense. That's why I wrote the book, Settle Free. Are you settling for someone who did you wrong and had no reason for doing it because they were looking for some fun on the other side and left you sitting there high and dry? Why are you going back? There's somebody else out there who's interested in you for you, and they don't plan on cheating on you. Date, be patient, date, be patient. Dating is healthy. You don't have to go backwards to someone that cheated. Why'd he cheat? Next.
Exactly. God, Tinsley is no nonsense, ladies. But it's also about I mean, if you couldn't tell, she's really about empowering women. So I know your third tip is you have to ask yourself what has changed that makes dating him again worth the effort. Because let's just face it, ladies, even though, it feels comfortable, it's an effort.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to make that effort? So, Tinsley, can you elaborate on that more?
Yes, yes, yes. What has changed? I'm going to use myself as an example.
Okay.
I had a situation where I did try to go backwards. Shame on me. I admit I went backwards. But one of the things I looked for that I wanted to see if it had changed was the reason why we broke up was because the guy was not calling me frequently and consistently. He was not texting back. Sometimes when I text back, we hadn't really gone out much. It was just a bunch of excuses every time we were supposed to try to engage or meet up or be in a relationship. Hello? So I'm like, if I'm not going to get any type of respect, it's over. I ended up ending things. Now, this guy was very handsome. I'm not going to lie. He's a very good looking guy.
Which is why you went back.
Shame on me. And I typically don't go by just looks because it's so much more to men, but he was hot. So we ran into each other again and, we still had that same vibe, whether it was physical or whatever it was, but we decided to give it another shot. And what I was looking for, Suzanne, is has he changed to the point where I'm not going to have to beg you to call me, beg you to respond to a text, show up at your house unannounced, please love me, and what I saw was that he hadn't. The moment we both agreed, by the way, because we had the discussion. I told him what happened. I told him, hey, you weren't calling. I didn't feel you were interested. Oh, I'm interested now. I'm still interested. Within a week, he was already going days without calling, without responding. He was doing the same thing. And you know what I told him?
Next.
Settle free, ladies. I'm not settling for that.
So I just have to add something to what you said, because you said it a couple times to yourself about shame on me for going back. But this is what I want to say. It isn't shame on you. You know why? Because you would always be wondering what if. So I'm glad you actually tried, because then you knew for sure he wasn't the right man for you, because you might still be thinking to this day, was he the one and I just should have given him another chance? No. Sometimes you kind of need to go back to figure out he's not the right one.
Right, right. You're right about that. And I mean, that's why I don't shy away from it. I put it in my book clearly. You can try it. I don't recommend it, but if you want to try it and it works, there's so many different success stories out there. People who actually dated their exes and they're still together today, happy as ever. So yeah, try it. But if you see those signs still there, you should not proceed.
Exactly. Well, these have been some awesome tips. So, Tinzley, tell our audience how they can find you.
Yes, thank you so much. You can find me at tinzleybradford.com. And on my blog is a link for you to click and goes to where you can order my book. I also wanted to bring up this t-shirt I'm wearing. Can you see it? Look at it. I sell these on my site. This t-shirt says, I am more than just some pretty feet. My first book, which you'll see on my site as well, was about men judging women's looks. The back of my t-shirt has hashtag settle free. So whenever you're talking about being settle free type of chick like I am, even if you post, you know what? This guy tried to ask me for my number and he wasn't even hitting on anything. Hashtag settle free. Remember that.
All right. Well, these have been some great tips. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you'd like to view the videos, you could go to singleandstilettos.com. And if you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. If you'd like to get our free ebook on the 3 secrets guaranteed to attract any man, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.